they felt they had to hire him. So here we go with your calls. Clay Helton out at Southern Cal.
All right, let's go to Los Angeles. Walter in L.A. on the firing of Clay Helton. You're on the Bet US caller line. Thanks for your call.
Hey, how you guys doing?
Doing great, Walter. Appreciate it.
Just got called onto you guys' show maybe 3 weeks ago. And it's interesting. I have to hide because I actually work at UCLA, so I'm in enemy territory in the corner. The fans been trying to get rid of Clay Helton for a while. I just heard he was in so good with the higher ups that wanted to keep the power, and they knew they can always control him and kind of run the program how they wanted to run. That's why you kept seeing them weird hirings like Hayton and Lynn Swan, not really football ADs or true athletic directors, just pretty much yes men. It's LA kind of is we could be a little slimy out here, a little, it's LA.
Right.
But yeah, I'm hoping we can get Franklin from Penn State. I think that'll help be good.
What is the attraction? Walter, what's the attraction with him? Is there any, I don't see any connection with him. He's a good coach, obviously, with what he's done in his career. Very dynamic guy. Is that just, but I've seen his name at USC linked there a couple of different times.
Well, for us, like I'm from Compton, LA. For us, like true LA USC fans, it kind of takes out the the buddy club where you kind of, it's just like our AD that we got from Cincinnati. He'll give us an outsider's point of view, won't just keep status quo, the same type of player that plays the same type of position. And we just need to be more thinking like how the rest of the country is thinking. You have all our good quarterbacks in the South now, Alabama, Clemson, and and in Central and Ohio State, and we didn't even.
We lost you.
Oh, man.
We lost you.
Yeah, we lost him. Oh, okay.
Sorry about that. 254-339-1122. I think Walter's also the one that said he wanted to go buy season tickets now that this news is out there.
Walter, shout out to you. And hopefully that was just your connection dropping and not somebody at UCLA going, hey, wait a second, are you talking about the USC head coaching job over there? So hopefully your phone's all good, and hopefully we hear from you again as well. I get what he's saying, though. It's just a change in kind of the patriarchy, or the hierarchy that's kind of always been in place there. A little bit of a shaking up would make sense.
I'll just say the best thing that they did when they hired Mike Bohn, and look, Mike Bohn may not be the right guy for that job 10 years from now, but he's the right guy for the job, and that he's an athletic director. I think that's a thing that a lot of schools make. A&M did that for years, where they were just hiring old coaches or, famous athletes from there to be their athletic director. And it put them, that's why the gap between Texas and A&M was so huge, because Texas had DeLoss Dodds, who was the athletic director to end all athletic directors. USC was hiring, Pat Hayden and Mike Garrett and all these guys who, and Lynn Swan, who all used to be, star athletes, but they're not necessarily athletic directors. If you want, surgery, you hire a surgeon, not just a doctor. You hire a guy who knows that.
But it's a place where stars and
you don't hire Lynn Swan to perform the surgery.
So hire an athletic director. That's what you need to do.
Here's from Dan Davis. Dan Davis on the text. Peterson kicked Orgeron's ass when he was at Boise State. All right, well, he got out of the business. Maybe he needed a couple of years to kind of take a deep breath. Who knows? 254-339-1122.
He's getting a phone call. Yeah. I don't think there's any doubt he'll probably get a phone call. Just a matter of how much he enjoys, retirement or not coaching.
Yeah. All right, Howard in Oregon on USC.
Hey, guys, how you doing?
Good.
Hey, that USC job is a death trap. Kiffin, Sarkisian, now Helton. It's a nightmare. Here's the deal on that from what I've read in the past. They've been really upset with the University of Oregon coming down there and stealing all the 5-star, 4-star recruits in California. And Thibodeau was a prime example of that. He's a South Central guy, and they thought he was going to go to USC, and make them, bring them back up to the top of the world, and he ends up in Oregon, and that's a big concern. Those schools like UCLA in basketball and SC in football, they expect championships. And when coaches don't produce, they go bye-bye, for one reason or another. Now, like I've told you guys, I'm an Arizona fan. Expectations in football are just awful. But not in those schools. I mean, that's the way it is. You better win, and you better win big,
Yep.
That's all I got to say about that.
All right. Thanks, Howard.
Great to hear from you again, as always, Howard in Oregon. Thank you.
Yeah.
If they're taking your guys. By the way, Phil Knight might have something to say about Cristobal and where he might go next. Just a thought.
Yeah, absolutely, especially since they like him. Let's go to –
Well, he's right, though. Oregon has gotten a lot of influence in California, especially Southern California, and I'm sure that's not something the Trojans fans are happy with seeing.
But you know who else does? Everybody else. Everybody, all the big schools are going to look at the big
don't have to play all
quarterbacks.
them, though.
The two best quarterbacks in the SEC, JT Daniels and Bryce Young, right now, where are they from? They're from California. So.
S. Akbar, James Franklin should be the number one choice. Another one, James Franklin. They need to call Franklin. Robert Pesaturo. Franklin, real good candidate.
I'm curious, what do Penn State fans think about that? Penn State fans, if you're out there, what do you think about, because you've heard the James Franklin to USC stuff for like a good 2, 3, 4 years now at this point. I mean, it's been a constant rumor. Even when things were going well in Happy Valley, it's still like, oh, James Franklin, USC. So I'm curious what Penn State fans think on the possibilities of like how they would, like would there be some that are like, you know what, we kind of need to change it up a little bit. But, I'm sure that would be a minority because he's a successful head coach. But if you're out there, PSU fans, holler at us.
By the way, Williams, I don't think is the quarterback. I think Graham Harrell does both. Is he a defensive back?
Cornerback.
Cornerback, yeah.
I probably said that too fast.
Yeah, you said it. He's a defensive back and recruiting.
Coach,
he's pretty much gave them a little bit of a jolt when it comes to recruiting, which, of course, they needed.
Yeah. All right, Don in Waco. Don, thanks for your call.
Hey, guys. Man, it's been a while since I talked to you guys, but I think we're missing the big boat here. How refreshing is it that our coach is not being mentioned for any opening? Can you imagine if Rule's still with us and Franklin's leaving? The bottom line is it's not good for recruiting if the coach is always mentioned year after year after year, for openings around the country, and, stability. Look at Alabama. Look at Clemson. They're so stable there with their head coaches. There's a lot to be said about that. But, for me, it's refreshing. No one's mentioning Dave Arandas as a head coach replacement.
Yeah, thanks, Tom.
That's true.
Yeah.
I will tell you, though, that there are quite a few LSU fans out there who miss him dearly. They miss him. They miss Joe Brady. And I don't know. How long, I mean, Orgeron seems to be on a very warm seat right now. So, that would be curious. But no, you're right. I mean, the Matt Rule stuff was exhausting. It really was. It was every time an NFL job opened up, which was, 7 jobs a year, maybe on average, or 5, 6 jobs a year on average open up. So for like 2, 3 years, you had to worry about both New York teams if they ever had an opening, and then really everybody else. And obviously he lands in Carolina, of all places. So, that was something that he managed pretty well, but like towards the end, especially that last stretch where they were preparing for the Sugar Bowl and the Jets were open and then the Panthers came swooping in, like at that point it just felt like, man, this is too much. Like it's too often, it's too constant, it's too damaging for the program to constantly have to address that, no matter how many times you say you're never going anywhere. And then, of course, you as fans, you can't believe it because he's going to go somewhere eventually, And so it's like, it's not that he's dishonest, but like with James Franklin and Penn State, I'm sure that's probably annoying, but in Penn State probably feels a lot better about being able to keep that secure. Now with USC open, again, I would like to hear from a Penn State fan on how they feel about that.
Well, let's not forget, Penn State's a pretty big boy program.
That's what I'm saying. And I just said that, and I guess I didn't come across clearly, but they're a different story because they are a program that's on that level. So they are different than Baylor getting poached by the NFL, of course, but I don't know how the fans feel about that.
From Chad Brendel, who we had on Friday, who covers Cincinnati, he's got a girl in a hammock, swaying back and forth. It's a GIF, right? Me reading the Lazy Hot Takery right now, of course, with Luke Fickell's name connected to the AD.
But going back to that call, Matt Campbell, Well, I want to address this call. Matt Campbell, that's got to be frustrating for Iowa State fans, constantly hearing about him for every single job that's opening up. It is draining, so you're right. It's refreshing to not hear Dave Aranda being thrown around left and right or being thrown around immediately when Clay Helton gets fired.
All right, let's go to Temple. The name didn't come through. It says Keratin. I doubt that's your name. I think that's something that's in your hair. But let's go to Temple. You're on the air on Sick 'em 365.
Yeah, it's Jaredin, actually.
There we go. Go ahead.
Missed something, yeah, sorry. But, no, yeah, I mean, I see, with the firing and, a lot of people looking at, the hirings and whatnot and not wanting them to go back to, USC roots and whatnot. But I see, a lot of names that are being thrown around and a Del Rio name, Jack Del Rio being thrown around, former, USC alum. And I see the problem with the recent hirings being that we've been going a lot of offensive, head coach hirings, with Kiffin, Sarkisian, and Helton that, and seeing how our defense has been, falling quite a bit in recent years, and maybe hiring a Jack Del Rio or something that would bolster like our defensive name, even though he's got the same, a lot of people don't want them to go in-house, but yeah, maybe a Del Rio could help bolster the defense that we've been needing so badly as of late.
The thing about Jack Del Rio, and I've always liked him, and actually one time had an opportunity to interview him. He's now with Washington. He's their defensive coordinator, so obviously a coaching job at his alma mater. But we've had some people debating on the text line about whether or not you should go do what you have been at the times when you've gone and gotten alums, and it hasn't worked out. Charles White.
Look, Nick Saban didn't go to Alabama. Dabo Swinney didn't go to Clemson.
Yeah, I don't. But Jack Del Rio, he's coached in the NFL now, though. Let's see. Well, look at his.
I'll tell you this. He's
been in the NFL every year since 1997.
But he's a USC guy.
Yeah.
So, and he's been up for the job before.
58 years old, so he's not too past that number.
No, I think he would definitely have interest. It's would USC have interest in him? I think you're right. It probably is time to shake the deck chairs a little bit and maybe go with a defensive-minded person. Obviously, you want to have a powerful offense, but that is, like, to your point, what they've been doing. Now, they've had success. It's just been, like, very up and down. I mean, they had a year they won 10 games with 3 head coaches, like 4 years ago or whenever it was. But, yeah, I could see them maybe going with a different philosophy. I do think Del Rio wouldn't be surprised if he's in the mix or if he's mentioned in the mix. I think that's somebody that you at least have to, if you're USC, you at least have to, like, check that box and look into it and have an interview if he is in fact interested. And I mean, all signs, and I don't know nearly enough about him, obviously, but just based on history, I think he would be interested. So that would be a little bit more of a wild card, but I'm seeing his name already pop up a ton from fans and from media, so you may be onto something.
Joe Klatt, if I was Mike Bone, USC Athletics, I'd be patient with this search, swing big. First job of the new coach, restore recruiting order by owning Southern California. This is a program that should never be outside the top 3 nationally in recruiting.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's a good point because of where they are.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean,
it's like the University of Texas. No matter all the coaching changes, they're going to have very highly ranked, classes because of where they are. They should. And even then, sometimes it doesn't matter, and sometimes you can debate the rankings themselves.
All right, let's go to L.A. It says L. Riley, but I think this call might be about Lincoln Riley. So, L.A., you're on the air on Sick 'em 365 Radio.
Thank God they fired that guy from USC. I'm from Los Angeles, man, and it's terrible to watch what's happening to USC. Once a powerhouse, we're not even mediocre anymore, man. So it's pathetic. It's just as bad as, and it's hard to be in LA and watch USC get humiliated on national TV, and it's pathetic. I'm glad they got rid of him. They should have got rid of him 2 years ago. And who should we get as the coach? Somebody that's best qualified, regardless if they have USC alumni or not. Alabama's always been great. I can see them going there, and I'm looking forward to the next chapter, because what we have right now, in fact, the best school in Southern California isn't Cardinal and Gold. It's UCLA, and I'm not saying UCLA is bad. I'm just saying USC is really terrible right now, and it was terrible to watch that game. I had to turn that off. And that's my take on it.
Thanks for your call.
Hey,
You know, there's so much feedback.
Hey, man, appreciate the phone call, and I can hear the relief in your voice, truly. So, hey, celebrate, crack open a cold one later tonight or whatever and celebrate, because I know a lot of Trojan fans are. And it's not, anything personal with Clay Helton, obviously, because he's an A-plus person based on everything that I've read about the guy and heard about the guy. But, bottom line is, you can be the nicest guy in the world, you got to win football games. And you're right, too. It doesn't help that UCLA's off to a 2-0 start and they just spanked LSU. It doesn't matter that LSU's maybe not LSU from – well, they're definitely not LSU from 2 years ago. We don't know how good really LSU is, but they won that game convincingly. Chip Kelly needed to win like that badly, so they're 2-0. And, we'll see what they do the rest of the way, but that's just salt in the wound, really. So, yeah, man, live it up. There's change afoot, and it's official, and now a coaching search will begin simultaneously with the football season. I'm curious as what's their timeline will be, because obviously they're not going to hire anybody in season because all their candidates are coaching right now. So that'll be interesting to see how they pull that off, and then probably announce something by the end of the right after the last weekend or something like that. I don't know. But
here's you can't rush to this. There's no need to. You let the guy who's the interim, Coach Williams, finish it out. You win 5, 6, 8 games. You win 4. I don't know, but you can't. You might. There's going to be a yet another. So we just go through all of this expansion, then you go through the Big 12 settling at least what their future is. Just wait a little bit. There's going to be something that pops, and it won't be the first big name that fires a coach. Maybe, I don't know. Doing it 2 games in goes to show you they know they had a mess on their hands.
If you watched on Saturday, guys, it was very clear.
I didn't watch it. I just saw the score. Yeah.
All right. I had to take a break from football on Saturday night for a little bit. Kevin from New York, you're on Sick'em 365 Radio.
What's going on, guys? I truly enjoy the show. You guys get me through a work day every day, so I truly appreciate it. Definitely want to talk to Clay Helton fireman and just run with me on this a little bit. I do a show here in New York, and we were talking the other day about what would be the chances that Urban Meyer plays at Bobby Petrino, leaves Jacksonville to go to USC.
Hey, I just mentioned that 15 minutes ago as
Thank you for the call.
First thing that came into my mind. And shout out to you, man. Appreciate you listening, and good luck with your show as well. But, that was one of the first thoughts that came into my head after watching the Jaguars and how bad they look. The Texans destroyed them in game 1. But, I think that you at least have to look, right? You at least have to have that conversation. And look, it's Urban Meyer. So is anybody going to put past him that he would, get out of something a little early to go make a move elsewhere, a la Nick Saban? I don't think so. Nick Saban said if they would have gotten Drew Brees in Miami like he was planning on, then he probably would have stayed there, or he would have definitely stayed there longer. But once you realize, we're not getting a quarterback anytime soon, we're screwed, I'm out of here. I'll be curious on what Urban's thinking right now, because they have a long road ahead of them, and Trevor Lawrence is going to need some time to get to the level of play where he's justifying the number 1 draft pick overall. So I'm not sure. It all depends on Urban and what he likes. If he is opposed to recruiting and all that, then obviously it's off the table. But if he's willing to go through that grind again, even though it's nearly killed him a couple of times, then, he's somebody you have to talk to. But his background does make it shaky for some schools.
But he mentioned Bobby Petrino.
Well, he said, what Bobby Petrino did to the Falcons. He left. He went to the Falcons, and he left to go.
Oh, Petrino in the middle of the night? No, he won't do that. I'm sorry for just not getting to that straight away. But no, I think the odds are probably very low that would occur. No.
All right.
Because where's he going to go? There's an interim coach, and they're not going to just put Urban Meyer in there in week 4. So that would not be realistic. But could he get tired quickly in the NFL, like Steve Spurrier did, like a Nick Saban did, when they realized this is not what I thought? Yeah, absolutely. But he could be a Matt Rule and want to stick around in the NFL.
When we come back, my conversation with Dave Aranda, Baylor football coach. I think it's 10 or 12 minutes, and we will get back to you. The text line blowing up absolutely blowing up. The phone lines are still there, blowing up as well. A bunch of you watching and listening in the various ways we reach you. Sick'em 365 Radio continues.